Your focus for this full moon is for your awareness to flow. Allow your awareness to flow for this full moon. That's on Thursday, May 23rd. Happy full moon, alchemists. With this full moon, the themes are awareness of flow, stability, and change. This full moon synchronistically happens just 1 week before the biggest solar storms that we've had in the last 20 years. So the solar storms are a huge flow of electric energy. Electric energy is masculine energy, and the full moon represents that magnetic energy. And so we're gonna be called to balance these two out, especially because these solar storms just keep coming and coming. These are the biggest solar storms we've had in the last 2 decades. That's why you may have been feeling tired, your sleeping patterns may have been changing, you're feeling high in anxiety, you're getting headaches, ear ringing, a stiff neck and shoulder, and so many of these other symptoms. And that's because these solar storms affect our electromagnetic energy, our energy bodies, like the moon does as well. And I'll talk more about this later, but I love the synchronicity of these solar storms happening because this is the Vesak full moon. So Vesak is the day that is celebrated honoring Buddha's birth and the day of his enlightenment. And these solar flares are bringing more light into our bodies as our bodies are learning to anchor more light during this evolution of consciousness. Hey, my name is IamSolTara. If you're new here, welcome. I am a medium and I share alchemy practices from Atlantis and ancient Egypt. If that resonates with you, I invite you to subscribe. This full moon is in tropical astrology. It's in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is facing the center of the galaxy, and this full moon happens at 3 degrees of Sagittarius. We're going to be very close to the galactic center in terms of that energy flowing into us. And this is why you may notice galactic beings showing up in your meditations or showing up in your dreams, especially 3 days before and 3 days after the full moon, because as you know, full moon energy peaks 3 days before and after, and the veil between the dimensions gets thinner. That's why we're more intuitive during that time. Sometimes the galactic beings will also just try to communicate with you via songs or via shows on TV or via just conversations that you're having with people. Overall, at the end of May, we're gonna see a spike in UFO activity because of this. So this full moon is in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius rules our tailbone, our lumbar, and the sacral chakra. And you might experience some discomfort, some pain in the bottom of your spine or your lower back because this full moon will focus on those body parts. And when your body is in pain, it's your body's way of communicating with you that something is imbalanced there. It's not doing it because your body's mean and it's just trying to annoy you, but no, your body has been trying to communicate with you, and so it's using pain as a communicating mechanism. So pay attention if you are experiencing any pain in your sacral area or the bottom of your spine. So something that you can do to balance your sacral chakra, what Sagittarius governs, is you can start eating more orange fruits, orange vegetables. You can work with orange crystals, putting some cleansed orange crystals like carnelian, and don't just put it in the front of your body, also put it in the back. And when you're placing these crystals over your sacral chakra, just breathe with the crystal, but make sure that the crystal is cleansed before you do this. You can also hum as you focus on that sacral chakra. You can also just breathe into that chakra and just breathe balance into it. You can go get acupuncture and do a whole range of other energy healing practices. For this full moon, focus on the vision, your intuition, and the drive to manifest the changes and the transformation that you experience during the eclipses, during the eclipse season, into your material life. So during eclipse season in March and April, we went through deep personal and spiritual transformation. But how are we going to actually practically allow that transformation not to just get stuck within the etheric planes, but how is it actually going to permeate into our mind, into our consciousness, and into our lives overall? So work with this Sagittarius fire, passion to drive more of this transformation into your physical life. If you look at Sagittarius, it's our arrow, and this arrow is focused on a target. So focus on the transformations that you had in the last 2 months and ask yourself, how can I actually bring this into my physical everyday life? So point this arrow into materializing the transformation that you just had in April and March. A way that you can do this is by creating new habits around the new lifestyle that you need to have. And these new habits, at first, they can be uncomfortable, like, oh, I don't want to go to the gym, I just want to stay at home on the couch relaxing. Sometimes it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's why connect with this Sagittarius fire and passion, vitality, to actually get you to do those new habits and bring those new habits into your daily life. Also, it can be a perspective shift. Sometimes we are addicted to our thought patterns and to our belief systems. Actually, I want you to let me know in the comments, what is transformation that you experienced in eclipse season that you know that is something that you want to stick with? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to know. What realization did you have during eclipse season that you are committed to? See this full moon as a follow through with the transformations that you had. I know sometimes when we get caught up in the day-to-day, we can forget about the big themes, the big visions that we have for our lives, because you gotta wash the dishes, you gotta go change the oil in your car, and so many other things. And that's why it's wonderful to be consistent with your work, with whether it's equinox, solstice, setting your goals then and your visions then, or with every full moon. Every full moon is an opportunity for you to reflect and release on what you need to let go of, so that you can start this new moon cycle with an emptier space, that you're able to receive more wisdom and you're able to receive more opportunities. Because if you're carrying a baggage of the old, always just carrying things from your past, you're never going to be truly open to see or even receive the new opportunities that want to come into your life. And we actually have a lot of positive support with this full moon, with the Venus and Jupiter conjunction. And this is going to create an expansion of harmony in our relationships. So Venus is the planet of love. It's the divine feminine energy. It's the creativity. It's also connected to finances. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It just blows everything up in a positive way. And it's the planet of wisdom, of luck. When these two planets are coming together, it's generally a really positive sign, especially when they're in the conjunction, because they're both nourishing each other. And so this is a great time for you to nourish your friendships, nourish all of your relationships and your community. So this is truly a harmonious time for relationships. And that's why for this month's full moon ritual and meditation, we are going to connect with your main animal guide. So some of us, we have multiple animal guides. And at different parts of our journey, let's just say right now you're moving through grief, or right now you're moving through courage, like courage is what you need right now in your life. A new animal guide will come right now to share some medicine so that you can learn and embrace more courage in your life. And so we kind of have like these rotating beings in our spirit team. For this full moon, we're going to connect with your main animal guide so that you can receive wisdom from them. But not just wisdom, because one of the things about this spiritual journey that we're going on, we need consistency. We need to have endurance. So we're going to connect with our animal guide so that they can give us the strength to walk our path of transformation. We're also going to connect with our animal guide so that we can identify clearly, what do we need to release during this full moon cycle that is no longer going to serve us in June, so that we can be open up to receive the opportunities and blessings awaiting for us in the summer. And one of my favorite things that we do in these monthly full moon rituals and meditations is that you get to connect directly with that spirit guide. So in this case, it's going to be your animal guide. And you get to ask them questions directly. That way you can receive guidance and clarity and plan for your next month. If you want to join us for this full moon ritual and meditation, you can get more information via the description in the video. In sidereal astrology, this full moon happens in Scorpio and in Anuradha Nakshatra. And this nakshatra governs harmony within friendships and community. So nakshatras are basically, you can kind of think about them like houses. So nakshatras are connected to the houses of the moon, not necessarily houses, but it's sort of like all of the moon's influence is divided into 27 parts. That's why I call them houses. And the nakshatra for this full moon is under this area of friendships and community. And that's one of the other reasons why we're hosting this full moon ritual meditations with our animal guides, because they're our allies and they can support us in many different ways. In sidereal astrology, this full moon is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is going to help you to explore if there's any resistance that you have about materializing the transformation you just went through. So sometimes there could be resistance about us wanting to change. And it's not just because change is hard, but there's a reason why we did things the way that we used to do them. So the Scorpio energy of this full moon is going to help you to identify, is there anything further that you need to explore regarding your process of transformation? Like, for example, is there any resistance that you're currently witnessing in your life about materializing the transformation that you just went through? It's not just because change is hard, but there's a reason underlying of why you're resisting change. And Scorpio gives us the courage to go beyond the surface level and really explore the depth of our subconscious mind. Explore the resistance you may be experiencing right now with this Scorpio influence. Pluto is also very active during this full moon, and Pluto reveals the unseen. So Pluto is the planet of death, rebirth, and transformation, and anything that's lulling in the darkness, it's gonna rise it up to the surface. So connect with those themes. It's better to actually intentionally connect with it rather than for you to see these things happening externally in your life where it won't happen maybe in the most graceful way. But if you actually go out and explore these comfortable things intentionally, you will have a much better experience and you won't have to experience forced aspect of learning those lessons. The three themes for this full moon are change, stability, and awareness. So let's start with change. We just had the biggest solar storm in the last 20 years, and this is affecting the pulsation of the planet. So just like you have a heartbeat, Mother Earth also has a heartbeat. And the center of the earth is filled with iron. That's what helps to create the magnetic layer around us. And so when all this solar electric plasma is coming and flushing towards Earth, Earth has to sort of create a protective layer with her magnetosphere in order for those particles not to affect the Earth herself. And so this is creating changes to the pulsation of the earth. And that's why many of us have been feeling random bursts of anxiety, because we're experiencing that. And this is just a response of the changes that Mother Earth is moving through, adjusting to the solar flare activity. And so just like maybe you are having these sudden bursts of anxiety, other people respond by getting very angry or irritated or overwhelmed with solar activity. And not everything is bad about these solar storms. These solar storms are actually helping to activate our dormant DNA, and it's also helping our cells increase their capacity to hold more light. And so over time, we're going to see these small shifts in the collective, because you don't even have to be outdoors in the sun to feel this, because all of those particles are moving through your walls, it's moving through your doors, and it's affecting your energy body. So you don't have to be outdoors to experience this, and everyone's experiencing this, whether they're conscious of it or not. And so the shifts that we're going to see in the collective, they're going to be small shifts right now, but watch how these shifts build up over time. And let me know, have you noticed anyone maybe at work or in your family or in your close circle, have you noticed how they started to change in the past 4 years? So since the pandemic, since 2020, we've entered a new solar cycle and we've been having more of these solar storms. And so that's why the collective consciousness is also waking up, right? Enlightenment, bringing more light into our awareness. So maybe before you couldn't have conversations about chakras, or you couldn't have conversations about mental health or even having healthy boundaries in relationships. But now these are like typical conversations that you had with people. With, if you think about it 10 years ago, you'd be like, oh, this is never going to be possible. So I'm sure you've been noticing people around you shifting their consciousness. Maybe it's not happening at the rate that you want to, but it's happening gradually. I know I noticed this when I went to Bolivia 2 months ago. So Bolivia is a very conservative country, and my family is diehard Catholics, like very strict, devoted Catholics, and they're actually mediums on my dad's side. And they would reject our gifts. But this time when I went just 2 months ago, my aunt finally started to tell me that she would get out of her body and experience things. My little cousin, she told me about a spirit guide friend that she has, and that she's sharing so much wisdom with her. And so the collective consciousness is awakening. Maybe we can't see it because it's not necessarily televised, but that change is happening now. And the more that we can observe those changes, the more that it will happen faster, because everything that you observe, you collapse from a wave particle of potential in the 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional frequencies. When you as a human observe it, not just with your physical eyes, but with your mind, your focus goes there. It collapses that wave of potential into a physical particle, into this physical material plane. And so it's not about us judging how fast or how slow this collective awakening process is happening, but rather it's about us observing it. And the more that we can observe it rather than judge it, the faster and more of these changes will come into our planet. The next theme is stability. And when I was preparing for this video, I was asking, what are we meant to know about this? And the word harbinger came up. Actually, didn't even know what that meant, so I had to look it up, so I'm going to read it to you. It's something that foreshadows a future event, something that gives an anticipatory sign of what is to come. And I thought this was fascinating because I was preparing for this video before we had the solar storm. But there is a new consciousness coming to our planet. It's already here, and I'm sure you already witnessed how fast people's perspectives are shifting, whether it's being televised or not. And what's happening is that we're moving from the age of Pisces into the golden age of Aquarius. So the day after the solar flares, the biggest solar flare that we had in 20 years, I went to Red Rock National Park and I was gazing at the sunset, and I saw this massive fish around the sun, and it's a shift of a new dawn. So the ages are shifting right now. We're moving through a 26,000-year-old cycle that's ending now, and a new one is emerging. This is the golden age of Aquarius. And as we're going through this huge 26,000-year-old shift, it's important to create stability during this shift. And during this full moon, the conjunction between Jupiter and Venus happens in Taurus, the grounding sign of stability. So reflect on this question right before the full moon and on full moon day. How can you create more stability amongst the chaos that our world is moving through? How can you create more food safety? Maybe can you start growing your own food? How can you create more physical safety for yourself and your family? Can you start meeting your neighbors and building that sense of community with them? How can you create financial stability? Is it by maybe adding a new income stream or building new partnerships with someone? So reflect on the things that you can actually control during this movement of change, because nature has to change. It's a natural process. Death, transformation, and rebirth. We always see it during the seasons. From winter, everything dies and is resting, and then spring, everything blossoms again. And then it goes through this whole process all over again, and that's what we're seeing happen at the planetary macro level. And so it's nothing to be afraid of, but it's sort of like, okay, let's prepare for this, and let's focus on the things that we can control. There are things that we can't control. We can't control nature as much as humans try to cloud seeding, and as much as we like to control things, we can't control everything, but focus on the things you can control. So the last theme is awareness of flow. So become aware of the flow of the current running through your body. There's an electric and an energy current moving through your body right now. You can't be aware of it, but every eye movement that you make, every word that you say, every word that you hear is firing an electric current in your brain, a neuron. And this is consistently happening billions and billions of times during the day. So become aware of the electric current in your body and become aware of the fact that it's changing because of these solar storms, because of the full moon, and become aware of how these energy current and its changes are affecting your body's needs. Right now, you might need to drink more water because of the cosmic energy that's happening, or you might need to eat more or eat less. All of our bodies respond differently, and the way that you'll know you're doing the right thing is if you listen to your body, because it's so wise that it has all the information and it will give it to you as long as you listen to it. And the full moon always affects our energy current around us. It heightens the magnetic current within our energy bodies and our cells. And if you have trouble identifying and balancing this energy flow in your body, maybe you're experiencing too much anxiety or having trouble sleeping, then you can listen to this playlist of free alchemy meditations that will help you to create more peace, more clarity, and more love in your life. And you can listen to the free meditations in the description of this video. The other part is to become aware of the current that the full moon creates on full moon day. If we look at the oceans rise on full moon day. And so it's affecting not just the waters externally, but the water within you. Your body's at least 70% water. So become aware of this and intentionally heighten your magnetic energy within you. And magnetic energy is feminine energy. Feminine and masculine energy have nothing to do with sex or gender. They transcend those human notions. We all have them. So focus more intentionally on riding the current of this heightened divine feminine essence that's not just within our sky, but also within our own energy field. And one way to do this is by listening to your intuition, by jumping into your creativity. Again, Venus is going to be very active during this full moon. And by entering the void space, the unknown that holds everything and nothing at the same time. And by you aligning and heightening with this magnetic energy current that's flowing in the cosmos, you get to flow with the cosmos rather than things happening like and life is becoming difficult. You start to flow and life becomes much easier. I hope to see you at our full moon ritual and meditation. We host these every month, and if not this month, then hopefully I'll see you next month. And if you have been experiencing any headaches, any nausea, ear ringing, if you've been having vertigo, watch this video right here, because this video will show you different ways to cope with these uncomfortable ascension symptoms. Have a wonderful full moon, alchemists.